Hello everybody, my name's Will and I'm a middle-aged Englishman, so that is the most enthusiasm I've displayed since atmospheric CO2 was at 350 parts per million. So the more perceptive of you might have guessed that I'm a climate scientist correctly, and the particular aspect of the climate that I look at is Antarctic sea ice. Now, I'm sure you've all seen amazing photos like this of Antarctica showing these gigantic, beautiful, complex ice formations. That's an iceberg. I don't care about icebergs. See the dull, flat scum in front? That's sea ice. That's what I'm passionate about. That's what gets me up in the mornings. Sea ice is frozen seawater. It typically grows to 1 or 2 meters thick, and it lasts for just a few months. It's superficial, it's grey, it's kind of salty, and that's exactly how my friends describe me. So you can see why this gig is perfect for me. That, and I'm a massive nerd. Not so much of a nerd that I didn't forget to take my conference tag off, by the way. You know who you are. Just take a pause while you all figure that one out. But this story could end up affecting you too, even if you're not a sea ice nerd. So the first thing to know about sea ice is that it's really good at reflecting sunlight back into space. Now, those of you up top looking down at me will have probably already noticed that I'm bald. It's true. I'd kind of envisaged that by this point in my life I'd be a silver fox, but somewhere along the way I caught mange. And because of that, when I go outside in summer, I have to wear a hat to keep the sun off my scalp. If I was the Southern Ocean, sea ice would be my hat, protecting me from those scorching hot sun's rays. Less sea ice around Antarctica in summer means that the water around Antarctica's ice sheets and ice shelves gets warm, and that can have a knock-on effect for sea level rise. And that's a concern for anyone if, say, 700 million of your taxpayer dollars are tied up in a waterfront stadium. Anyone here from Ferntree? No? Mount Nelson? Woo! Yeah, go Mount Nelson. You don't give a shit about sea level rise. Because you're on the mountain. You probably do care about bushfires though. Now, sea ice helps the Southern Ocean absorb 70% of all the heat that we're trapping on our planet through greenhouse gas emissions. Less of that heat going in the deep ocean means more of it going in the atmosphere. That means more droughts, more extreme heat waves, and more bushfires. Ironically, it also means more floods. In fact, I'd argue that almost everybody in Australia over the next few decades could be indirectly affected by the loss of Antarctic sea ice. That was somber. Well, now I've got your attention, I've got a question for you all. Who here has been completely fucked over by a breakup that they didn't see coming? Totally blindsided. Didn't see that one coming at all. But once the dust settles and you've got some clear time, you maybe look back on it and you think, yeah, maybe there were some red flags. Things were getting a bit emotionally volatile. Maybe one or the other of you was prone to holding grudges. There was the time she slashed your bike tires because you spend all your free time mountain biking. Yes, I know now. Thank you. Red flags, warning signs. So this is a similar story, but instead of about relationship collapse, it's about sea ice collapse. So for decades, the planet has been unequivocally getting warmer, but until recently, Antarctic sea ice seemed to be strangely resilient. Arctic, Northern Hemisphere sea ice was in real trouble, but if anything, Antarctic sea ice was increasing. Scientists like myself used to write papers about how stable our ice was. We were like that nauseating, smug, loved-up couple. Such a shame about the Arctic. It's the polar bears I feel sorry for. Yeah, they were unbearable. Climate models told us that we should be losing ice, but we weren't going to trust the models because they didn't understand. Hey, we had something special. Well, then in 2016, something really extraordinary happened. That's right, we started losing sea ice. Now, at the time, Donald Trump was running his first presidential campaign, and we thought that this 2016 sea ice loss was kind of the same thing. Fascinating, kind of extreme, but an aberration. There was no way this guy was hanging around. Well, since then, low sea ice cover and low political integrity have hung around for way longer than the experts anticipated. And in fact, every single summer since 2016 has been, except for one, has been one of the lowest sea ice covers on record. But it was last year, 2023, that things really went nuts because we started seeing ice loss in winter. Now, historically, winter sea ice had never been that interesting because it always gets really cold down there, so the ice always grows to its maximum limit. Winter sea ice was always kind of dependable, predictable, robust. It was summer sea ice that was a bit shifty and unpredictable. So when we started... You're laughing way too much. So when we started losing sea ice last winter, we knew something was up. And one of the things our team in Hobart did was look back through the observational record, as you might after a breakup, to see what were the warning flags that we'd missed. And you know, we found red flags going back as early as 2006. We really were kidding ourselves. So the first thing we found was that the variability of the ice, how much it fluctuates from one month to the next, had more than doubled since 2006. In statistics, we call that volatility. In a relationship, volatility not so good. The other thing we found is that the memory of the sea ice, how long it takes to recover back to normal from a high or a low state, had gone from just over a month to more than 6 months. In statistics, that's called autocorrelation. In relationships, that's called being a massive fucking sook. Now, whether you're in a relationship or you're a dynamical physical system like sea ice, increased volatility and increased autocorrelation are both signs of an impending critical transition. Sounds ominous. But, so in reflection, perhaps we shouldn't have been so surprised by what happened last year. The warning signs have been there for a while. But of course the important question is what's going to happen next. So the first thing to note is we've had another really low year of sea ice this winter, and we know that what's driving this is in part ocean temperatures in the Southern Ocean. But we don't know where that heat is coming from, and that's a real problem because ocean warming is a bit like that hot new rebound relationship. Things can be smoking hot. But if it's only at the surface, it's going to fizzle out pretty quick. I don't see this going anywhere. But if those warm and fuzzy feelings are coming from down deep, you could be in for a long-term thing. Maybe even life-changing, especially if you're one of the many species that depend on sea ice. So these are Adelie penguins. They actually don't like sea ice that much, but their food source does, which makes them the ultimate NIMBYs. And on the subject of relationships, they're supposed to be monogamous, but they are notoriously slutty. Not that I'm anyone to judge, obviously. The important point is that figuring out where that heat is coming from is critical for understanding what the next few decades in Antarctica are going to look like. And that's important not just for these guys, but for the entire planet. I'm Hobbs. I study Antarctic sea ice, and amazingly, I am still single. Thank you very much.